And we're going to look at this bigger, I guess, more complicated example of isolated analysis, um, so that we can really understand how it's being done. I drink a lot of water during these sessions because I have to talk a lot. Sorry guys if you keep seeing me sipping water. Um, Really important not to be dehydrated. But looking at this example, she wore a cloak with fur at hem and cuffs and a broad brimmed hat with a veil and a rose. A huge description of simply, a woman's physical appearance, but predominantly in terms of just what she's wearing, so her costume. What can we say? What are some notes we can take on this whole idea? The author portrays the woman as wearing a cloak with fur at hem and cuffs, a broad brimmed hat with a veil and a rose, in order to draw attention to her wealth and opulence. In this case, we're just not extrapolating at all, we're stating the obvious. She's dressed as a wealthy person, she's wearing fur, expensive looking hat, and a veil, and it's drawing attention to her wealth and opulence. What's not great about writing like this is probably that we've included such a long quote in the sentence instead of breaking it down or not quoting the whole thing. But this is completely fine. Looking at the second example, the author draws attention to the woman's fur hem and cuffs and broad brimmed hat with a veil and a rose, with these symbols of wealth and opulence acting as indictments of her character's affluent lifestyle. Not a particularly new idea. Affluent lifestyle and wealth quite related, but it's just strengthening our analysis. And we've also shortened down the quote and made it concise and nice to read and nicely flowing in the sentence. And then the third one, the author's use of polysyndeton in characterizing her fur at hem and cuffs and broad-brimmed hat with veil and a rose draws attention to the lavishness of her attire. This, coupled with the fact that fur and veils were associated with opulence in the early 19th century, culminates in a portrait of a woman accustomed to wealth and prosperity. We're not necessarily, in this case, suggesting she's leading an affluent lifestyle, but we're saying she's used to being wealthy and living this way. But the really complex and really good thing that we've done here is we've managed to bring in the context by addressing that wearing fur and veils in the 19th century was associated with being significantly wealthy. So we can see the meta language here in pink identified for the technique. All of the other two examples fail to include the meta language. You might not be particularly familiar with the polysyndeton, but you can see how this bouncy like rhyme of the sentence is creating that effect, and you can associate that with the technique. Fur at hem and cuffs and a broad brimmed hat with a veil and a rose. How it's combining things in a really rhythmic, nice pattern, and that's your polysyndeton. So we've also shortened down the quote. We can see that in blue. We've cut down the level of evidence just a little bit, and we've explained the meaning that the evidence creates by mentioning that it draws attention to the lavishness of her attire. And then we have that really complex sentence of isolated analysis that is very, very good, relates back to the context right there in pink that I've already mentioned, guys. So what else I'd like to say? Isolated analysis is really, really great. We need to be able to use it as an instrument to justify our interpretations of the text. By closely analyzing the text, zooming in really, really closely in our analysis, we can gain insights into the way that characters are portrayed and the views and values of the author, more importantly. And then these insights will allow us to draw conclusions and form interpretations about the text, which we can discuss in our essays. And overall, you can see how this is a great practice to help with our key skills in literature. Some of your teachers may have already adopted this strategy and you might have done some practices in your classes. If not, I really recommend this is something you should try at home. You saw from the previous example, it's a really nice and quick and easy exercise, and you get a lot out of it in terms of how much you can improve your writing in very quick